Revealed, Millionaire'S promise fix this Ferrari and discover an unexpected love story. Jake Thompson's heart raced as he stood in the dusty old garage that once belonged to Charlie Kincaid, Riverbend's legendary businessman. The shadow of the reclusive millionaire loomed over the town like a distant thunderstorm. Just as Jake cleared a pile of clutter, his eyes landed on an iconic red Ferrari buried beneath years of neglect. The vivid color glinted even through the grime, and for a moment, all of his worries fell away. This was more than a car, it was a treasure waiting to be revived. Jake's pulse quickened. This could help him save his family's struggling auto shop. With bills piling up and his father's health declining, he felt the overwhelming weight of responsibility. Hope mixed with desperation coursed through his veins. Jake started the daunting project hopeful and determined. Each day after finishing shifts at his small garage, he would return to the Ferrari, working late into the night under the flickering fluorescent lights. He envisioned the car gleaming in the sunshine, the uplifting sound of applause at the Riverbend parade, his ticket to a brighter future for his family. But whispers spread through town like wildfire. What's he thinking? They'd murmur, messing with Kincaid's junk. They couldn't understand his passion or the urgency behind his quest. In a town where everyone knew each other's stories, Jake's aspirations felt like an audacious dream, distanced from the hard realities of small-town life. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. Then, something unexpected happened. Charlie Kincaid himself began to show up at the shop. Initially, Jake felt a mix of anxiety and anticipation. The townsfolk had painted Charlie as nothing more than a disgraced millionaire, but here he was visiting Jake to see the progress. Their conversations revealed a shared spirit of struggle and resilience. Charlie, once a war hero, had his own burdens and regrets. As they worked side by side, Jake uncovered the man behind the wealth, while Charlie found a flicker of ambition in Jake's determined eyes. Friendship blossomed amidst the clinking of tools and the smell of oil. However, not everyone appreciated their bond. Some townsfolk began to confront Jake, saying he was tainting his hard work by aligning with tainted money. Accusations flew, and the smiles of admiration from some quickly turned to bitter glares. Jake felt torn between the dreams he'd crafted and the loyalty to his community. He feared losing them, yet he couldn't ignore the stirrings of hope ignited by the Ferrari's revival. Finally, the day of unveiling arrived, the annual Riverbend parade. Jake pulled the Ferrari into place, the crowd buzzing with anticipation. As he lowered the tarp, revealing the shining red beauty, gasps echoed around him. Eyes lit up with awe, but collective murmurs grew. Was this a redemption or a betrayal? As the mixed reactions washed over him, he felt a warmth from Charlie, a silent reassurance that no matter the fallout, ambition was worth pursuing. Jake stood there, torn between the expectations of his heart and the reality of his town. The Ferrari sparkled, but was no longer just a car. It symbolized everything he yearned for. As sentiments clashed around him, he caught Charlie's eye across the crowd. Both men shared a fleeting smile filled with understanding, pain, and hope. But as the crowd began to disperse, Jake felt the weight of uncertainty. Would he choose comfort in the familiar or dare to soar into the unknown? The air hung heavy with question, inviting the next chapter of his story. The crowd's murmurs filled Jake's ears as he stepped away from the Ferrari, feeling lighter yet heavier all at once. Heart racing, he could hear snippets of conversations swirling around him. Isn't he just embarrassing himself? One woman whispered, while an older man recalled the glory days of Kincaid's fortune fondly, but skeptically. Jake's facade began to crack under the weight of their judgment. He felt the heat of their eyes on him, questioning his choices, his dreams. But then, a different sound cut through the noise. The unmistakable laughter of children nearby brought Jake back to the moment. A group was gathered around, wide-eyed and enchanted, tugging at their parents' sleeves to get closer to the shiny Ferrari. For them, Jake was a hero, a magician who turned something old and forgotten into a spectacle. Suddenly, a voice broke the tension. "You did good, Jake," Charlie called from the back of the crowd, his gravelly voice cutting through the whispers like a knife. The warmth in Charlie's words wrapped around Jake like a comforting embrace. With newfound determination, Jake straightened his back, pushing through the throng until he reached Charlie. The man's weathered face reflected a pride that Jake needed to see. "Thanks for believing in me," Jake replied, feeling a rush of gratitude. I thought maybe I'd lost the town's support." Charlie laughed lightly. "You give them something to talk about, kid. You've roused the spirit of Riverbend. Not everyone has the guts to make something from nothing." That truth struck a nerve within Jake. He realized this was more than just about fixing the car. It was about inspiring the community to believe in possibilities beyond their small-town limits. Despite the skeptical eyes, perhaps they needed this spark of hope just as much as he did. But as Jake glanced back at the crowd, he noticed an old friend, Mark, standing apart. Mark had always been Jake's biggest supporter. Yet now, his face wore a mixture of concern and disappointment. Jake's heart sank. He carefully approached him, hoping to bridge the gap. "Hey man, I know this isn't what we talked about," Jake started, his voice steady despite the tremor inside. Mark shook his head, the tension thick between them. "You've changed, Jake. This whole thing, it feels like you're forgetting where you came from." "That's not true," Jake exclaimed, the frustration bubbling over. "I'm trying to create something here, for all of us. You remember the days we dreamt about building something bigger than ourselves, don't you? But this? You're doing it with the wrong guy. Charlie Kincaid, he's the past, man. Not our future." Jake felt the sting of Mark's words. The reality of choices loomed over him, a heavy burden on his shoulders. What did it mean to pursue his dreams if it alienated the people he cared about? Before he could respond, the crowd erupted into laughter. A child had climbed inside the Ferrari, pretending to drive, while a group of parents snapped pictures. The joy radiating from the scene momentarily lifted the weight from Jake's heart. Maybe, just maybe, there was still hope for mending relationships amidst the struggles. "Let us go for a ride," Charlie offered, breaking through Jake's spiraling thoughts. "I want to show them what this car can really do." The idea excited Jake, but a part of him hesitated. Would the ride bring them together or deepen the divide? Yet, the glimmer of hope flickered slightly bright. Before he could answer, the parents started to cheer, urging Jake to take the leap. Jake looked from Charlie to the eager faces around him. He took a deep breath, feeling a choice hang in the air. His decision could either soothe the tensions that had formed or ignite a firestorm of criticism. Would this be the moment that defined him as the town's dreamer, or merely solidify their doubts about his path? As his heart thudded with anticipation, the spirit of adventure surged within him. Could this ride change everything? Jake took a moment, the world around him fading slightly as he weighed his options. The laughter of children bounced against the nearby storefronts, reminding him of simpler days, filled with carefree joy and untainted enthusiasm. It felt like a beacon calling him back to a brighter time, away from the noise of dissent. "All right, let us do this," he finally shouted, his voice brimming with excitement. A wave of cheers erupted from the crowd, the energy palpable, lifting his spirits alongside it. Charlie grinned, his eyes bright with a shared passion for the moment. With the crowd parting, Jake crawled into the driver's seat of the gleaming Ferrari, the leather cool against his skin. The engine roared to life, punctuating the electric buzz around him. The sound reverberated off the buildings, cutting through the lingering uncertainty in his heart. It was a sound of possibility, akin to the laughter of those children, echoing the spirit he hoped to rekindle in Riverbend. "Who wants to take a spin?" Jake called out, scanning the sea of eager faces. Parents exchanged glances, Michael's face still shadowed with doubt, but the kids, his true audience, were bouncing on their toes, pleading silently for a chance to ride. Jake felt that familiar thrill, knowing this drive could be the bridge to connect him back to the community. Charlie leaned in closer, his voice low. "Let us show them what we can do. This is our chance, Jake. Don't hold back." With a nod, Jake shifted into gear and felt the adrenaline rush. He pressed the accelerator, the car lurching forward with exhilarating force. The crowd exploded with enthusiasm as they sped down the street. The landscape blurred into a rush of color, the familiar sights of Riverbend morphing into a movie he could finally star in. The wind whipped through his hair, washing away doubt, raising a smile that felt genuine again. As he maneuvered through the streets, the joy radiating from the car felt contagious. Children laughed and cheered while their parents smiled, momentarily swept away in the buoyant thrill of the ride. For a brief moment, Jake sensed the walls around him coming down, the seeds of doubt loosening their grip on the hearts of those who witnessed their town turning toward brighter days. But suddenly, as they rounded a corner, Jake caught a glimpse of Mark's somber face. Concern etched deep lines into his forehead. In that moment, the reality of his friend's disapproval hit Jake like a stone. Did he care more about the momentary applause of the crowd than the lifetime bond he had with Mark? The laughter around him felt like it could evaporate at any second, revealing the chasm growing deeper between him and his old friend. Charlie's voice broke through his thoughts again, his excitement infectious. "Let us give them a show, Jake. Show them why this matters." Jake felt the fire in his gut. He pressed harder on the accelerator, speeding forward, the hum of the Ferrari melding with the thumping of his heart. The world was exhilarating, yet terrifying. In this moment of unrestrained freedom came the realization that while he could drive forward alone, the warmth of shared dreams was what truly fueled his journey. As he reached the culmination of their ride, Jake faced the cheers and laughter of the crowd, but couldn't he shake the silent worry for Mark? Did he truly believe in this path, or was he messing up the very foundation of friendship? Jake turned back toward the crowd, ready to share this moment. What would happen, though, when the engine finally stopped? Would the cheers turn cold, or would the love shown today pave a way forward? Determined to find out, Jake focused on the road ahead, knowing that in chasing his dreams, he might also have to confront what he risked losing. But was he ready to face that truth, or was it time to stop running away? The end was in sight, but the hard questions loomed. Would he choose his dreams or fight to hold on to the ties that mattered most? As the roar of the Ferrari subsided, Jake's heart raced not just from the speed, but from the swell of mixed emotions crashing against his chest. The crowd's cheers settled like echoes in his mind, but all he could see was Mark's disappointment, a harsh reminder that dreams come at a cost. Silencing the engine felt surreal, like closing a chapter before realizing the story wasn't complete. He climbed out of the car, adrenaline still sparking through him, but as he faced the clapping, smiling faces, he couldn't enjoy it as he should have. Instead, he scanned the crowd for Mark, his heart sinking a little deeper with each passing moment without sight of his friend. Charlie bounded up to him, eyes shining. "Did you see how they loved it? We did something special today, Jake." There was a sincerity in Charlie's enthusiasm that made Jake want to believe it was true. "Yeah, we did," Jake replied, but the words felt heavy and hollow. The joy wasn't just dimmed, it felt pulled away into the very air that surrounded him. But what if it's not enough? What if I'm just chasing a fantasy? Charlie's excitement dulled for a moment. "You can't think like that. You inspired those kids. And their parents. They're not just cheering for a car, they're cheering for a taste of hope," Jake interrupted, finally catching a glimpse of Mark at the edge of the crowd, arms crossed, eyes narrow. "But hope doesn't fix broken friendships, and I don't know if I can bridge that gap." Without waiting for an answer, Jake walked over to where Mark stood, feeling the weight of each step. People parted, their smiles fading into whispers as he approached. Mark's expression was hard, like stone, and Jake felt small under that scrutiny. "Jake," Mark began, voice tight. "What you did today, it was reckless. For a moment, I thought you were back to your old self, but this isn't the way to find your path." Frustration flared in Jake. "I'm trying to connect with everyone. With our town. Don't you get that? Each word carried the weight of the uncertainty he had been wrestling with, the fracture in their friendship widening with every syllable. "And what about me?" Mark countered, his voice rising with a mix of anger and hurt. "I've been here through everything. You're just feeding your ego while I'm left wondering where I fit in." Jake's heart sank. The truth hung uncomfortably in the air, and for the first time, he realized he had been so absorbed in reclaiming his dreams that he hadn't noticed how it pulled him away from the people who mattered most. "Mark, I don't." "Just think about what you want, Jake," Mark said quietly, his tone shifting, breaking ever so slightly. "Is it all worth it? How much are you willing to risk?" Jake opened his mouth to respond, but the words wouldn't come. He felt like he was standing on the edge of a precipice. Behind him were the cheers of the crowd, the adrenaline rush of the ride. Ahead was Mark, grounded in reality, challenging him to consider not only what he wanted, but who he wanted to be. Silence fell between them, heavy and charged. Somewhere in the distance, the laughter faded, replaced by the rustle of uncertainty. Would today be a beautiful moment or a painful turning point? Jake took a deep breath, bracing himself. He had choices to make, and the heart of it all was wrapped tightly in their friendship, one that either could heal or fracture irreparably. And just as he opened his mouth to finally speak, a loud crash sounded from the parking lot, followed by an explosion of commotion. A new urgency surged through him. What had just happened? "Stay here," Jake shouted, instinctively moving toward the sound, aware that the chaos hadn't just called him away, but might reveal something far more significant. What would he find this time? Jake pushed through the crowd, the noise growing louder with every step. Heart pounding in his chest, he sprinted toward the parking lot, the vibrant colors of the cars blurring around him. It was a cacophony of confusion, shouts, and metallic sounds, the kind of chaos that made your stomach churn. He rounded the corner and froze. The scene struck him like a lightning bolt. A sleek black SUV had collided with the Ferrari, now crumpled on the asphalt, steam rising in angry billows from its hood. The crowd, once cheering for him, now hovered like ghostly spectators, mouths agape, some instinctively reaching for their phones, others whispering nervously about the wreck. Jake's eyes darted from the smashed car to the driver of the SUV. A man in a tailored suit emerged, his shirt slightly wrinkled as if the adrenaline had caught him off guard. He looked dazed, rubbing his forehead as he surveyed the damage. Something about the man felt familiar. The way he stood, the way he carried the weight of the world on his shoulders. Before Jake could decipher who the man was, a figure bolted toward him. It was Charlie, panting and wide-eyed. "What happened? Is everyone okay?" "I don't know," Jake replied, his voice a low murmur. He felt a knot tighten in his stomach as he caught the desperate expressions around him, people anxious, murmuring theories and speculations. Suddenly, Mark appeared at Jake's side, still visibly tense from their previous exchange. "Did you see my car?" he asked, worry etched on his face. "That was your Ferrari?" Jake replied, disbelief coloring his tone. "I thought you sold it." "I did," Mark said, his voice thick with regret. "But I bought it back last week. I thought I could restore it." Now he sighed and gestured helplessly toward the mangled metal. "They'll fix it, right?" Charlie's voice had now shifted to a hopeful note, but Jake could see the buried doubt behind his eyes. Jake took a deep breath, shaking his head. "It's not just the car, we've got to see if that guy is all right." Before he could take another step forward, the suited man caught sight of Jake and Mark. His expression shifted in an instant, from dazed to alarmed. "Is everyone okay?" he called out, his voice shaky, but determined, as he approached them. "I think so," Jake replied, not entirely sure of the answer. The man took a moment, assessing the situation around him. "I'm sorry. I didn't see you there. I lost control of my brakes. Is anyone hurt?" Jake opened his mouth to speak, but suddenly his world tilted. The man's gaze, so familiar, snagged at his memory. "Wait. You're no way. You're Dylan Harper, aren't you?" "Yeah, that's me." The man's look became one of recognition too. "Jake Thompson, right? I thought that was you've changed." Jake felt a surge of nostalgia and disbelief. Dylan had been the town's golden boy, renowned for more than just his family name. They had been best friends before life took them in different directions, each navigating their own trials. "Look, this is my fault," Dylan said, steeling himself, an edge of urgency in his voice. "I'll cover the repair costs." Mark stepped forward, fists clenched. "You think money solves everything?" "Wait," Jake interrupted. "What if we can work this out without getting angry?" The tension hung in the air like smoke, ready to ignite at any moment. Dylan nodded slowly, absorbing the tense atmosphere. "I didn't mean for this to happen. But maybe it could be a way for us to reconnect. We could turn this into something more than a disaster." Jake's mind raced. What was he suggesting? Was there a chance to salvage not only the car but also broken relationships? As the crowd swirled around them, Jake could feel the weight of their eyes. And with it came a chance, a sliver of hope that maybe, just maybe, this calamity could lead to something unexpected. But as he looked between Dylan and Mark, one question loomed in the air. Could they really turn this moment around, or would it tear them further apart? The sound of sirens pierced through the noise, and as the red and blue lights began to flash, Jake's heart raced again, not from speed this time, but from a new, creeping uncertainty. Would this be the end of an old chapter, or the beginning of an unexpected twist? The sirens faded to a low hum as Jake's heart thudded in his chest. He turned to Dylan, who stood a few steps away, face a mask of worry. The adrenaline buzzed around them, mingling with the lingering smoke from the wreck. Jake took a shaky breath, drawing everyone's attention back to the scene. "All right, so what is the plan?" Jake asked, his voice steadier than he felt. He could feel Mark's tension radiating beside him, arms crossed tightly over his chest as he shot a glare at Dylan. Jake needed to find common ground. This was their chance, a chance to rise above the wreckage, both physical and emotional. Dylan ran a hand through his tousled hair. "Maybe I can help," he offered hesitantly. "I might know a few people in auto repair that could fix this," and Mark cut him off. "You think you can just throw some cash at this and call it a favor? This is more than a car, man." "Mark, chill." Charlie jumped in. His voice was high, echoing the nervous energy. "Let us just hear him out. Can't we take a few minutes to sort this out?" Jake put a hand on Mark's shoulder, trying to ease the brewing storm in his friend's eyes. "Let him finish. We're all shaken up right now. Let us not make this worse." Dylan nodded appreciatively, looking grateful for Jake's pragmatic approach. "I didn't mean for this to happen, I swear. I guess I panicked. I want to make it right. It could be a fresh start for the three of us. We used to be friends, remember?" Jake's gaze flitted between Dylan and Mark. Memories swirled, laughs shared, secrets traded, sun-soaked afternoons spent dreaming about the future. But those days felt as distant as they were hopeful. "We've all changed, Dylan." "Yeah," he replied softly, eyes flickering. "I've learned the hard way what it means to fail. This accident, maybe it's a chance to fix more than just a car." Jake saw sincerity in Dylan's eyes, a longing for a reconnection that made his heart twist. There was something raw there, a truth they could both grasp. "Okay," Jake began, "let us say you help with repairs. But what is in it for you? Why should we trust you?" "I want to get to know you guys again," Dylan admitted, his voice thick with emotion. "I've spent too long trying to prove myself. I realize now that I need real friendships, not just business connections." "Real friendships don't come with a price tag," Mark said, his skepticism still evident. "Then let us start with just being real," Jake suggested. "Maybe it's time we find out who we are now, not who we used to be." The moment hung in the air, thick like the steam rising from the wreckage. Jake could feel the crowd's eyes digging into him, waiting for the verdict. Was he really suggesting they reach back into the past? And would they come out better or worse? Before he could dwell on it further, a heavy-set officer approached, his notebook in hand. "I need to get some statements," he said, eyes shifting from the cars to the three men. Jake felt a chill. The external chaos wasn't over yet. Mark leaned in, frustration bubbling. "This isn't over, you understand?" Jake nodded, heart clenching. There was a fine line they were about to tread. Would their paths intertwine again, or would they diverge completely as the night unfolded? As Jake looked from Dylan to Mark, he felt a pull deep in his gut. What were they about to enter? The air was charged with uncertainty, but something in Jake sparked with lingering hope. In the commotion, a flicker caught his eye. Dylan checking his phone. Jake's heart sank as he wondered what news might follow and how it might change everything. What if this was just the beginning? Would the old wounds open and bleed anew, or could they heal in a way none of them expected? Jake watched Dylan's fingers slide over the screen of his phone, a cloud of worry growing in the pit of his stomach. What news could be so urgent amid this chaos? Mark was shifting nervously beside him, clearly ready to explode again. But for now, they all held their breath, suspended in this fragile moment of potential reconciliation. Dylan, Jake said, setting a boundary. What is so important? Dylan hesitated, his eyes flicking from the screen to Jake's face. It's my dad, he stammered. He's pulling some strings. I thought maybe he could help with the repairs, speed things up. What strings? Mark interjected, his tone sharp. I trust your dad about as far as I can throw him. He's part of what drove our friendship apart in the first place. Charlie shot Mark a warning glance, but Jake could see Dylan's face fall at the accusation. It's not like that, Dylan said, desperation creeping into his voice. I just thought if I could get you the help you needed without going through the typical channels, but why? Mark pushed, confusion mixed with anger. Why no? Why do you suddenly want to be around us? Jake stepped in, sensing the tension boiling from Mark. Can't you see? Dylan's trying to help. He wouldn't be here if he didn't care even after everything. Dylan nodded, eyes glistening with what looked like sincerity. I never wanted to distance myself from you guys. Maybe I got caught up in trying to prove myself, but I realized I need you. I need real friends. This isn't about cash or connections. It's about connection. The weight of his words settled over the group, a charged silence wrapping around them like a blanket. Jake felt a flickering of hope, but also doubt. Could they really rekindle what had once been? Suddenly, another police officer arrived on the scene, her presence cutting through the fragile thread of reconciliation. All right, gentlemen, she said, her voice brisk. I need you to come with me for some statements. Right now. Great, Mark mumbled, eyes rolling. Just what we need, more interruptions. Before Jake could respond, Dylan glanced at his phone again, a strange mix of urgency and guilt crossing his features. I really should take this, he said, backing away slightly. It could be important. Dylan, wait. Jake reached out, but Dylan had already stepped back, typing furiously on his device as he slipped further into the thrumming crowd. We just got him here, and he's running away? Mark's frustration boiled over, fists clenching. Let him go, Jake said, a wave of protective instinct washing over him. He's trying, Mark. We could all benefit from a little understanding right now. Mark looked at him incredulously. So, what? We're supposed to just forgive him because he's had a wake-up call? I don't know, Jake admitted, feeling the weight of uncertainty. But if we don't at least try, then what do we have? This whole mess might be our chance to reflect and become better, not just for ourselves, but for each other. I don't think it's too late. But before Mark could respond, Dylan was back, his face brightened by an unexpected excitement. I got a lead-in option to get the car fully restored in under a week just like that. Really? Jake asked, hesitation peppering his words. How? My dad, Dylan replied sheepishly. He just pulled some strings. He knows someone who owes him a favor. And it doesn't cost us a thing. This time, Mark's fury faded into something more complicated, a mixture of disbelief and curiosity. And what do you get out of this? Dylan swallowed hard, trying to find his words. I just want to be accepted. Beyond everything that happened, isn't friendship worth some risks? Isn't it? Jake echoed aloud, feeling a shift not just within their group but also inside himself. As the officer called for them to move along, Jake hesitated. They had a chance here, a chance to take a hopeful leap into reconnecting. But could they really trust each other enough to take it? With Dylan glancing back hopefully, Jake felt that familiar tug of unresolved potential beside a tumult of memories. Was he willing to risk it all again? Would they emerge from this mess transformed, or would they fall apart again? The uncertain pull of change hung heavy in the air. What lay ahead could reshape everything they had once been or tear them further apart. As Jake walked forward, His heart raced with uncertainty, wonder, and just maybe, a flicker of hope. What would happen next, and would they all find the courage to embrace it? As they followed the officer, Jake kept glancing back at Dylan. He could see Dylan's shoulders tense, holding something inside that wasn't just about the car. The crowd surged, shuffling them along, but Jake felt like they were still standing still, suspended in a moment of hope and doubt. "Jake, you really think we should trust him?" Mark said under his breath, frustration spilling over. "What if it's just another one of his games?" "I don't know," Jake replied, his voice barely above a whisper. "But what if it's not? What if this time he's being real? The risk could be worth it, but can we really take that risk?" Mark clenched his jaw, eyes still narrowed. He pushed through the throng of people, urgency in every step. They reached a temporary barrier linked to the chaos, and as they waited for their turn to speak with the officer, the noise around them faded. There was an awkward silence, and Jake could feel the tension coiling tighter. Dylan stood just a few feet away, tapping on his phone again, and it felt like he was a world apart. "Guys," Charlie broke the silence, his voice calm, "what if we tried to meet him halfway? It's clear he's trying to make amends." Mark scoffed softly. "Halfway? He already walked away from us before. Why shouldn't we just leave him to his father's connections?" "Because," Jake interjected, searching for a way to bridge the growing divide. "If he's reaching out, we owe it to ourselves to see if he means it. Isn't that what friends are for? Trying to understand?" Mark studied Jake, the faintest trace of doubt flickering behind his eyes. "And if it's just an empty offer? How many times are we going to fall for his tricks?" "I can't know for sure, but I know one thing." Jake took a breath, his heart pounding, full of anticipation and fear. "If we don't give him a second chance, we'll all regret it. Isn't it worth a shot? We might discover something good." Before either of them could respond, Dylan turned back, his face lit with determination. "I'm serious about this, guys. My dad really can help. He's changed too, believe it or not. I don't want to just throw money at this problem. I want to be part of the solution, together." Mark shifted, still on edge but softening a fraction. "If this goes south, it's on you, Dylan." "I know," Dylan replied, his voice steady. "Just try to believe me this time." Jake felt a weak smile creep onto his face, the tiniest glimmer of hope growing. Maybe Mark was right to be cautious, but what if they all, together, could turn this around? The noise of the crowd pulsed around them, and he could feel the gravity of the moment. "Fine," Mark relented, though Jake could see the hesitation still clouding his expression. "But we're all in this one more chance, and if it goes sideways I get it," Dylan said, cutting him off quickly. "If it goes sideways, I understand. But I promise I'll make this right. Please just give me the chance." Jake nodded, feeling a surge of solidarity wash over him. It was more than a car now. It felt like they were rebuilding something deeper. They approached the officer, and Jake's heart raced again, anticipation hanging in the air. As the officer collected their statements, something shifted inside him. This was a crossroads. They could either clench tightly to their past grievances or reach out and grasp a glimmer of hope. He glanced at Dylan, who was watching intently, every line of his face filled with sincerity. Dylan had taken a risk, and so would they. Why, maybe this was exactly the right time to embrace uncertainty. "Jake," Mark said suddenly, his eyes flicking towards Dylan again. "You really think we can fix this mess?" "Yeah," Jake answered, feeling a warmth threading through the fear. "I really do." And, just like that, they emerged, ready to tackle whatever came next, but with that promise clinging to them. What could possibly be waiting on the other side? After all, $1 million promise was about to reveal some unexpected truths, and as they stepped into the unknown, the air pulsed with potential and a sense of brand new beginnings. What would unravel in the weeks to come, and would the trust they sought become a love story woven into their unexpected ride? The crowd thinned as they stepped away from the officer. It felt surreal, as if that brief conversation had shifted the ground beneath their feet. Jake stole a glance at Dylan, who wore a mixture of eagerness and vulnerability, and it struck him just how much was riding on this moment. "What is next, then?" Charlie asked, breaking the silence with a genuine curiosity in his tone. Dylan took a deep breath, his eyes scanning the area. I think we should go to my dad's office. He'll want to meet you guys. I promise he'll listen. Great, Mark said, his skepticism still evident. Let us meet the man who dirtily swept his problems under the rug and wants to save face. Mark, stop, Jake urged, stepping in between them. This is about Dylan's trust. Let us give it a chance. The weight of Mark's gaze felt heavy, but Dylan remained undeterred. Just give me a chance to explain. My dad's been different lately. I need you all to believe that. As they walked through the bustling streets, Jake felt a mix of anticipation and anxiety. Each step they took felt symbolic, moving closer to decisions that would either redefine their bond or shatter it for good. He noticed that Dylan was no longer tapping on his phone. Instead, he walked with purpose, a flicker of determination lighting up his features. Soon, they reached a sleek, modern building. Its glass facade shimmered in the afternoon sunlight. Jake couldn't shake the feeling that they were headed into the lion's den. Was it bravery or madness that propelled Dylan to put his hand up against the past? Inside, they were greeted with a polished reception area, bright and sterile, but with an undercurrent of tension. Wait here, Dylan instructed. I'll talk to my dad first. Jake watched as Dylan approached a door marked with his father's name, his heart pounding. The atmosphere shifted as Dylan knocked lightly, then entered, leaving the three of them to exchange uncertain glances. Is this really going to work? Charlie asked quietly, fidgeting with the hem of his shirt. Mark shrugged, impatience etched into his expression. We'll see. Jake felt the heaviness of their collective worry as they waited. It was like standing on the edge of a diving board, the rush of adrenaline coursing through him, while the deep blue water below felt less inviting with every second. There was so much at stake here. Suddenly, the door opened, and Dylan stepped back into view. His face was illuminated with hope, but an undercurrent of anxiety tugged at his features. He wants to meet you. Just be honest with him, and let him know where we stand. As they followed Dylan into the plush office, Jake felt a tightening in his chest. The room was extravagant, filled with modern art pieces and luxurious furniture. At the center of it all sat Dylan's father, a man who radiated authority but also something more regret. Thank you for coming, he said, his clear eyes flicking from Dylan to the three friends. I understand this is a complicated situation. Jake sensed the weight of unsaid words in the air. This conversation held the potential not just for a solution, but for healing, for understanding if they could navigate the turbulent waters ahead correctly. Dylan stepped forward, the tension palpable as he spoke. We're here because we want to fix what's broken. Not just the car, not just the past. I need you to see that I'm serious about this. The silence wrapped around them, anticipation hanging thick like fog. It was clear to Jake that the stakes were high. Could they turn fear into trust? Could the potential for something deeper grow from this chaos? As Dylan's father regarded them, a flicker of uncertainty crossed his face. The moment trembled on the edge of possibility, leaving Jake feeling breathless. What if Dylan's father actually listened? What if this meeting didn't just mend relationships, but sparked an unexpected alliance? Would they all dare to hope for something more? But the journey ahead twisted with complexity. Would his father's hidden past loom over them, or could it become the very foundation of a new beginning? Dylan's father, Thomas Harper, leaned back in his luxurious chair, the look in his eyes both cautious and curious. Every observation felt heavy, like the weight of the world resting on their shoulders. Jake exchanged glances with Charlie and Mark, each of them bracing for the unknown that was moments away. They had fought their way here, and now was the time to see if all these threads could weave a tapestry of hope. Dylan tells me you're working to fix up a car, Thomas started, his voice steady, but edged with uncertainty. A Ferrari, no less. Quite ambitious for a bunch of young men in Riverbend. It's more than just a car, Jake interjected boldly, feeling the fire of passion ignite within him. It represents dreams and maybe what we can still achieve together. We believe in rebuilding something. Not just metal and paint, but friendships. Community. Mark stood by, still skeptical, but visibly softening as he listened. Dylan shared a hopeful glance with him, and Jake felt the bonds of camaraderie tightening around them. They had come too far to let fear pull them back now. You all mean to say you'd want to join forces? Thomas's brow furrowed, yet Jake sensed curiosity beneath his caution. Dylan stepped forward, a hint of nerve in his voice. Yes, we believe we can all benefit from reconnecting. I want to reconcile our pasts not just with you, Dad, but with Jake and Mark too. This accident, it showed us that we can't keep running from who we are. Thomas's face shifted, a flicker of recognition dawning in his eyes. Change isn't easy, he replied, but it felt as if he was searching for something deeper behind those words, a longing for reconnection, perhaps? It's been a long time since I truly reached out to anyone. But if I can help fix this mess, this friendship, the car, I would like to. Jake's pulse quickened. The air around them hummed with possibility. Let us start over then, he said, a sudden surge of confidence filling him. We're all capable of building something beautiful if we support each other. Mark finally stepped forward, the last remnants of his skepticism melting away. If this is real, Dylan, if your dad's serious, then I'm in. But it's going to take work. Trust doesn't come easy after everything. Trust and respect. It's a two-way street. Thomas nodded, and the sincerity in his eyes brightened. Let us figure out a plan that benefits all of us. I can connect you with the right people to restore that Ferrari not just as a car, but as a symbol of second chances. The atmosphere shifted again, charged now with hope. Jake exchanged a beaming smile with Charlie. In this moment, it felt as if the past was melting away, revealing a brighter future slowly unfurling before them. When they left the office together, a new sense of unity wrapped around them like a protective shield. They weren't just a group of old friends reuniting, they were a team, ready to tackle their futures head-on, with $1 million promise hanging in the air. The weeks that followed were transformative. They spent evenings together in Dylan's garage, laughing, sharing stories, and occasionally bumping heads as they worked on the Ferrari. Slowly but steadily, they rebuilt not only the car but the bonds that had frayed over the years. Jake felt a lightness in his heart, a sense of belonging. He watched Mark and Dylan grow closer again, their laughter echoing in the workshop. Charlie was there too, a constant presence, becoming a brother figure to them all. The whole town felt alive with hope as news spread. On the day of the unveiling, the air buzzed with anticipation. The townspeople gathered, mirroring the mix of emotions that danced within Jake. Mark stood at his side, face lit with newfound enthusiasm, while Dylan's confidence radiated outward. As Jake unveiled the Ferrari, its surface gleamed under the sun, but it wasn't just the car people were captivated by. Hearts were touched by the story behind it, the journey they had shared to confront their pasts and embrace a hopeful future. Sometimes it takes a collision to wake us up, Jake announced to the crowd, a warm smile spreading across his face. This car represents more than a dream. It's proof of what we can achieve when we come together, supporting both our past and our future. Cheers erupted from the crowd. There were tears, laughter, and applause. Residents from Riverbend caught onto the wave of transformation, swelling with pride. Jake caught Charlie's eye, and they shared a knowing smile and unspoken acknowledgement of how far they all had come. Dylan stepped forward and placed an arm around Jake's shoulder, a gesture of solidarity and friendship. Here's to new beginnings, guys. His voice rang clear through the crowd. And to chasing our dreams together. With every cheerful voice, every clapping hand, Jake felt their community come together, strength renewed. Those once awkward ties had morphed into unbreakable bonds. As the sun set over Riverbend, bathing the town in warm hues, Jake knew this was just the beginning. They all had decided to rebuild not just a car, but a sense of hope and promise weaved tightly in the heart of their little community. Hope had indeed sparked love, and friendships rekindled. They had embraced vulnerability, uncertainty, and change. A new chapter had begun, and it looked bright. Now, here's the thing. You need to subscribe now to keep up with the incredible stories waiting for you. This is the moment to show your support. Hit that like button now to fuel this positive energy. I want to hear from you. Comment below about how this story made you feel and share instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second. Join this amazing journey with us.